Welcome to the Tough Love Podcast with Essential Gigi. I'm Gigi, and on today's episode, we are continuing the Emotional Healthy Relationship series. Today, we're talking about having an emotionally healthy relationship with our food, with our breath, and basically just having an emotionally healthy relationship with our emotions. A little disclaimer again that the topics that are discussed on the Tough Love podcast are based on my personal and professional experiences and also my interpretation of what I've learned and continue to learn. We're going to move on to the next relationship, emotionally healthy relationship with our food. Food is nourishing to our body. The food that we consume is either going to heal us or it's going to harm us. And we make that choice every single day with every single meal or every single thing that we put in our body. We won't go into on and what we breathe and all that. That was episode 2. So with this, we are consciously making this decision. It's like going back to a toxic relationship over and over and over every time we consume toxic food ingredients over and over. But we don't talk about it this way, and we should, because diet culture has deprived us from calories and certain foods. Majority of people who say they eat healthy are actually under eating. And so we go to the other extreme. I can't be extremely healthy. That's too little calories and that's a lot of salads. So we go to the other extreme where we overeat. We don't find a balance. Our problem isn't overeating. Our problem is overeating the wrong things. On my program, we have a foods to enjoy list, and I recommend to my clients, especially the first 2 weeks, to eat in abundance. Literally, eat from this list in abundance. To all the diet culture influencer idiots out there, show me your skincare routine, show me your beauty care products, show me your ingredients for your quote unquote healthy foods. Because they are extreme in you have to eat this food and you have to drink this crap that is harming your freaking organs. And then they're meal prepping in plastic and they're consuming quote unquote health washed substances, claiming to be healthy supplements. Eating right is very, very important. But first and foremost, it's important to love the food we are eating. We need to appreciate and be grateful for the benefits that it's providing. For me, I like to eat dry dates when I'm almost full gestation with a baby. It helps make your uterus strong. It doesn't induce your labor. It helps your uterus be strong so that when your body is ready for labor, your uterus is strong to help assist on those contractions and in labor. I'm so mindful with that. I drink golden milk, not as often as I wish I did. Golden milk, even now, I can be so grateful when I'm talking about it because it gives me restful sleep and it reduces my inflammation so drastically. So for me, I'm super thankful for it. I know, I don't care. It freaking sounds corny, but I find joy. I find joy. And I invite you into my life. Not to say I don't have bad days or bad moods. I do. I know they would be much more frequent, though, and more intense if I didn't take care of my health and wellness. And so this is how I thank my food all the time. When I'm cooking, when I'm eating. Thank you for nourishing me and giving me life and energy in this moment. If we can't talk to our food this way, that's something else we can talk about in a later episode. Maybe in one where I talk about my nutrition and how I got to eating the way I do. Thanking your food is a really good standard practice to have in order to building a healthy or positive relationship with our food. A lot of health companies are also influencing people. They're going for smoothies and shakes or tasty vitamins, but maybe their ingredients are pretty good ingredients, but they're also promoting very unhealthy habits. Some of them taste like junk food. Like, what the heck? How are we supposed to detox and not want junk food if we are feeding our bodies things supposedly healthy, but they taste like junk food? So, yes, when that healthy product is not around and we crave that junk food, what are we going to do? Go eat that junk food. I'm not saying never give in to your urges. What I'm saying is build a better relationship with our food so that we can love our food that is healthy for what it's nourishing and what it's doing. And then when we decide to eat the unhealthy item, we can indulge in it. Yes, why not? We've been doing good. We treat our body good. Let's go indulge in this item. And I say this confidently because when you enjoy this food item and then you realize, like, oh, this made me feel really sick. This other food item has been so healthy and so good to me. It's been tasting amazing. Why did I even indulge in this crappy item? You're going to go back to eating healthy. Sometimes we go from eating junk food every day, a couple times a day sometimes, and then we eat really good. A month, 2 months, maybe even 3 months go by, and then we indulge in it one time, and it makes us feel so sick. The next day, we're probably not going to eat it again. We're probably going to wait a little bit longer to eat it, and that's how we start eliminating these toxic foods. The more crap we give our body, the more it's going to crave it. Also, we'll learn to indulge in them in smaller quantities. So, drinking a giant cup of coffee that has syrup pumps and all of these things in it that we probably drink all the time, I know I did. Now, if I want to indulge in it and the giant cup makes me sick, I'll have the smaller cup. And then I might not finish it. I'm the queen of putting my drinks in the refrigerator, and I'll sip it a couple times and then put it back in. Then I go about my day because my body's just not used to it. It's a little satisfaction to me to be able to taste it a little bit, because in reality, our body doesn't want that toxic food. Yes, it wants the taste of it, but it doesn't want the toxic feeling. It doesn't want what it makes our body feel, how it makes it feel, how it reacts. It doesn't want that. It just likes the taste of it. And so one of the tricks that I used to do when I first started my health journey is I would also cut up foods that were not on my food list. I would cut them up really small, and I would just eat a small piece and eat it very slowly. I used to be able to indulge in things and feel satisfied because I allowed my body to have it. I just had my little rules and guidelines on how I allowed myself to enjoy it. If I was training and eating extremely well and I craved certain foods, I did not tell myself, no, you cannot have this. I would write it down and say, you can have this on such and such day. And I'll talk more about that again in the episode about healthy eating, where sometimes I would go to my list on the day and look at my list and be like, I don't want any of it. And sometimes it was a different junk food. And sometimes I would just not even have the junk snack on that day because I just didn't really feel like it. I did this with the relationship ones too. I told myself, I'm going to be single at least for 6 months, even if I want to go back with them. And then 6 months came and I was like, I'm pretty good. I'm good. So it's good to set these guidelines for yourself and, hold yourself accountable, because your future self will thank you later. Health and wellness is not a one size fit all. It's like a relationship that we need to discover with ourselves. And that's probably going to be another episode also of the Tough Love podcast, where we discuss the health issues associated with fad diets and all of these supplements. Society plays a huge part on how we feel and how we look at the products that are available for us. For example, I went to a wellness fair and I did a limeade. Organic sugar cane is cooling, and in moderation, it's good for us. We need sugar to regulate, our glucose levels and things like that. And then also rock salt is really good. Salt is important for us because it has minerals that our body needs. It helps our body cells absorb hydration. And so I did a limeade with electrolytes. I had organic homegrown herbs in the limeade. And some people literally turned it down because they said they don't do salt, because they said they don't do sugar. And of course, I respect them. Nobody's going to force them. I'm definitely not going to force someone who doesn't want to eat something or drink something and force them. But the reason I'm talking about this is because that is what marketing is doing to us. We will keep eating synthetic things, fat-free, sugar-free, and it's all this crap that is causing us illness. It's causing us inflammation in our body. It's causing our glucose levels to be unregulated. It's causing all these harms to us, but we are pushing these fat-free diet foods, but not educating people that it's the wrong salts and sugars. And so then we end up supplementing with pills instead of with our foods. And the reason this is important as well is because sometimes our body receives organic compounds better, it processes organic compounds better than synthetics. Certain organic compounds can go into our cells, whereas synthetics cannot. Sometimes we end up taking an extremely unhealthy amount of synthetic supplements that cause organ issues, organ failure, when all we have to do is educate ourselves. We don't even have to educate the masses, but educate ourselves to eat better. Question everything. I'm so proud of my kid, my oldest, where he's asking, why are certain things being made? Why are certain grocery stores selling certain products? And maybe society will not change, but the simple fact that he's asking these questions so that he can find better alternatives, that is my goal, because there is better alternatives. So again, marketing platforms, they make us think that diet and sugar-free means healthy. And honestly, diet and sugar-free to me means toxic chemicals. It's unnatural. And anything that's unnatural, that means that my body is not going to recognize it. It means that it's foreign and I don't need it. So again, let's switch the channel. Let's change our mindset. Let's get off this, I don't know, socially acceptable channel. Quote, like, what the actual fuck, unquote, channel that I'm giving you. Now that I know, how do I go back? Let me ask you, did you know this about diet food and sugar-free and fat-free? So if you're here, you're my loved one. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you for allowing me to give you a small glimpse of how my brain works, how I choose to make conscious decisions about my nutrition. It's a choice. To me, it's a choice. And I practice this every day, all the time, choosing better things, thinking about what they're going to provide me and choosing better things. So we can go back to loving food, especially if we start thinking about what this food is doing for us. And also that we may not be perfect, but we have to start somewhere. We have goals to meet. We have a higher version of ourselves, right? The decision maker. And that person is going to start consuming healthier foods that are compatible for our body type. Before we move on to the next relationship that is important in our life, one of the tips that I have, instead of immersing yourself online and trying to find all these meal plans and everything, I guess I'll give you two tips. The first one is eat seasonal and local organic foods. So nature is amazing. That if a plant or a vegetable or fruit, herb, whatever grows in your local outside climate, the chances are that that is the type of food that is more compatible with your body type in that moment. And the reason I say this is because, again, nature is amazing. And so if you think about somewhere tropical, what grows there? Things like mangoes and pineapples, those are cooling foods. And so when we transport a pineapple or a mango to a cold climate environment and we're consuming that, we're cooling our body down in an already cool environment. And then we end up with dryness. We end up with, a lot of things. And so that's one of the tips. The other one is plan your meals around your vegetables and fruits. And so a lot of us sometimes are like, oh, I'm going to get this protein for dinner tonight. And then we think of the sides. Another very healthy thing that I like to do is buy local organic fruits and vegetables. And then I plan my protein around that. I plan my other legumes or whatever around that. And that is a really good way to get your digestive system, your metabolism going to the best of its capabilities. Want to live a healthier lifestyle but don't know where to start? Tired of fad diets that get you nowhere? Maybe you got to your goal, but you can't afford the expensive supplements. Reach your fitness goals, but still struggling with chronic health issues? I'm holistic lifestyle coach Gigi, founder of Cultura Sensual Enhanced Wellness. I created a personal health and wellness assessment you can't get anywhere else to help you reach optimum health and start living your best life. Click on the link, culturasensual.com, fill out the application at the end for your free consultation with me. This is your sign so that you can choose to start taking care of yourself. An emotionally healthy relationship with our breath means to me is knowing what breathing does for you. There's a lot of studies that show obviously it helps reduce stress, it promotes calmness, relaxation, it helps us focus, increase alertness, and reduce anger. I remember I used to get upset with my husband all the time when he would sigh. Like, I would think, even if we weren't arguing, if we were having a conversation and then he would sigh, I'd be like, what the heck? Is he frustrated with me? Is he upset? Am I talking too long? And even though probably the answer to all of them is yes, I do it too. But then I also learned in therapy that it's something that helps us release those emotions, the frustration or trying to calm down or whatever. And so I had to learn that we need those moments of release so that we can reset and continue. Sometimes I have to continuously not get upset when it happens because I forget or it still irritates me, right? It's hard to break some habits, but I like to remind myself, this helps or whatever. And sometimes he has to remind me if I got upset about it. And it's very similar to me. Sometimes I have to breathe if I'm dealing with a migraine, or which I don't get that often anymore, but if I did, or if I'm having aches and pains or, whatever. If that happens, then I have to remind myself, it sounds cliche, count to 10, take a deep breath, and then answer or whatever, continue the conversation because it does help. Try it right now if you want to. Take a deep breath, see how you feel. Take note of how you feel in this moment. Then take a deep breath and acknowledge how you feel. Take notice of how you feel after that deep breath. Like I said, it sounds like corny or cliche, but sometimes our relationships are worth it. Keeping calm instead of having an explosive reaction, it's worth it. And so it goes back to being mindful. We have to practice it enough so that those are our new normals. Those are the things that we look to when we are in these situations. The more we practice them, the more normal they become to us. Taking deep breaths, making conscious decisions about our food, about our movement, about our self-care. Being appreciative of our breath, being grateful daily, I talked about it earlier, it helps regulate our nervous system. When our nervous system is not regulated, it puts us on that fight or flight response. If we're in fight or flight response, our body doesn't work the way it's intended to. And so we start having chronic issues and things like that. So breath helps us release those things, and being appreciative for our breath will help us release those things. Taking a deep breath, even being appreciative outside, looking at the flowers, looking at nature, watching the squirrels play. You know what else also causes our nervous system to stay in fight or flight now that we're talking about it? Junk food. Fight or flight damages our brain, it damages our organs. Our breath is very important. Not only does it help us relax, it helps us regulate our nervous system, but breath also nourishes and provides oxygen to every cell in our body. Our cells need it to stay alive. Once they do their job, they eliminate carbon dioxide. Literally, breathing is healing. Oxygen is healing. We need to appreciate those breaths. There's a really good YouTuber, Ralph Smart. I think his channel is called Infinite Waters. And he takes breaths and he talks. He gives really good advice. But when he takes this breath, it's so delightful and beautiful because he's like, breathe in this good ass prana. And so prana is the Sanskrit word for life force, energy. That's what we're doing when we're breathing in. We are energizing every cell in our body. We are nourishing every cell in our body. So next time you take a deep breath, just enjoy it and realize it. That's one of the reasons I named my business Cultura Sensual, because in my schooling, I learned about sensually loving your body, sensually loving the breath that you breathe. And culturally, I grew up in a Mexican household, but before that, for me, it was being indigenous, learning things from my grandmother with herbs in her garden. And I only learned a very, very small fraction of what she probably knew. And we didn't grow up in an indigenous family household. It actually wasn't until I moved to Arizona and we started taking drives back and forth that I looked into it. But anyways, the reason I'm saying this is because that's how I run my business. It's sensual and cultural practices so that we can learn to love ourselves, so we can learn to love our well-being and make it a priority. Because we cannot show up for people that we love if we are not even there to show up, if we're not even able to show up. So working on ourselves first, loving the air we breathe. All of these things, our food, being mindful with ourselves, our breath, it all helps us have an emotionally healthy relationship with our emotions. Everyone struggles with their emotions. It's not just a woman or emotional all the time thing. Everybody struggles with their emotions. And being Pride Month, and this is a disclaimer, we're going to talk about unaliving situations here because June is Pride Month. While I'm recording this, it's still June. This is airing in July, however. This month is to celebrate people of the LGBTQ plus community. There is so many people out there not being able to be true to ourselves. For a long time, it wasn't socially acceptable, and in some places, it still isn't. Now, even with safe places where we can go and celebrate equality and just every different type of human being out there in this world, those places are being targeted. And the reason I'm acknowledging that is because, again, emotions are not just a woman thing. Men's mental health is important as well. June is also Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. Men die by suicide 3 to 4 times more often than women. I think it's partially because boys don't cry, or all of the machismo responsibilities that they carry on their shoulders. I refuse to tell my kids boys don't cry. I have 3 sons. I'm not going to tell them that. They can express their emotions. This mentality of man up has raised a generation of having emotionally unhealthy states of minds. And the sad part is that these numbers increase. The frequency increases in those over the age of 65. So if I had to pick one thing about what I like to do when I help others grow into a higher version of themselves, is the emotional healthy healing part. That transformation from helpless to hopeful is such an honor for me to witness. And I don't want to talk about it too much because these are other people's emotional relationships that come to mind, but that is one of the things that I really enjoy watching. Healing from emotional and mental traumas looks different for everybody. There's not ever any two alike. No journey is ever two alike when it comes to emotional and mental traumas. Also, we should know that we are not alone. There are others battling similar issues. There are others, they have already overcame those hardships. And so sometimes we need to reach out to our communities so that we can talk to similar individuals. I remember my father battling some addictions, and I thought I went through those situations when I was a child because I needed to know what to not accept into my life and relationships, and I did. there was certain characteristics boyfriend showed, I would end it before it got bad. And so that definitely helped me. But then I remember a loved one was going through a similar situation where their parent was in a rehab, and then now they were living in the aftercare home after rehab. And they were just falling apart in my vehicle. And I remember talking to them and hugging them. And in that moment, I realized, like, this is why I went through everything I had gone through with my father. Because, again, like I said, I'm an optimist and I refuse to let negativity win. And so this was my time where I realized, this is why. How was I going to be there for my loved one? How could I relate to them, or they relate to knowing it can get better if I hadn't gone through my situation? Being able to see a parent heal themselves, my loved one was able to experience that and see their parent heal themselves. And now their parent is a freaking amazing person. So my advice is, sit with your emotions, feel them. Where are they coming from? And where have they brought us? I know that's super scary to think about, right? We aren't used to it, to have to think about a level of hurt that we have maybe pushed it down and didn't want to feel it or think about it. We pushed it down literally for so long that the thought of actually having to feel it or feel them right now may be unbearable. Makes you a little uncomfortable, but speak or talk to a professional, medical or clinical, to have you supported on this healing journey. We were taught to stay calm. Don't overreact. I told you, I was told numerous times growing up as a child, oh, you're so emotional. But guess what? When life gives us things that are just so emotionally unbearable, how could we possibly not scream or cry? How could we not let a big yell or a big grunt in frustration? Ugh! Emotions are meant to be felt and released. Again, we're doing the opposite of what our bodies were designed to do. Is it really starting to make sense now? The standard lifestyle, the standard diet, the standard way to deal with emotional and mental health. It's making us sick and unwell in the first place. I shared a post last week. Just because it's common doesn't make it normal. So if you're new here, I talked about it earlier, but I use herbs and essential oils, plants. They all have chemical structures. They react with our body chemistry, quick and simple science. Some of the essential oils that I recommend for emotions are like citrus oils are uplifting. They have uplifting properties. Rooting oils, so grounding oils, they promote calm and steady focus. And then floral oils, they promote feelings of safety. If you don't have essential oils, try peeling a citrus fruit. You can even boil the peel and it'll release the aroma in your home. The same with rooting or floral oils. If it's something you have outside that makes you feel calm, rub your hands on it, smell it, put your hands in the dirt, put your bare feet on the ground. There's science behind these things. Maybe we'll talk about it in a future episode. So let's make it a priority to take care of our emotional and mental health. Again, emotions are directly connected to our organs. I've had many classes on this for years, and one of the quotes on a published research that I'm going to link in the description, it says that in the study, anger was related to the liver, happiness to the heart, thoughtfulness to the heart and the spleen, sadness to the heart and lungs, fear to the kidneys, heart, liver, and gallbladder, surprise to the heart and the gallbladder, and then anxiety to the heart and the lungs. Do you ever think about when you get some very sad, overwhelming news? You hold your chest, you have to catch your breath. Sadness to the heart and the lungs. People who are angry all the time, that causes liver issues. We can go on and on because I love geeking out. I love this topic. I love learning how the human body works with nature. Like, it's literally the most perfect design. So we'll probably leave that to a different episode. Send in your questions or messages. I would love to hear from you. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe so that you don't miss new episodes on Wednesdays at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm Gigi. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the Tough Love Podcast with Essential Gigi. This will be the realest shit you're gonna hear. Bye.